Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, what a surprise yesterday was, and the euphoria still hasn't worn off. Washington pulls the major upset over the Super Bowl defending champions 29-19 to break their 4-game losing streak, get back in the win column, and more importantly, prolong their season. It seemed like this season was done after the loss to Denver right before the bye week. Going into the bye at 2-6, things looked pretty dire. And, I talked yesterday on Overtime about, a few stats that were mind-boggling that were brought up during the broadcast. One being that, Washington, for the first time since like 2016, had scored on all 4 first-half possessions. Another crazy stat was that Washington hadn't led in any game this season by more than 6 points. So when they took the 6-0 lead after the first 2 possessions yielded field goals, it equaled their largest lead of the season. We're 10 weeks in, and the largest lead we've had all year was 6 points. I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, we would ultimately take a 13-point lead in this game at 13-0, and we ultimately won the game by 10. So we bucked a lot of trends in this game. But another trend that we bucked in this game, and something else that we hadn't done in quite some time, is that I just lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. But yesterday there were a lot of firsts, and it was a big game, a big win for Washington, one that was much needed. Oh, that's right. The other thing that I was thinking about was I saw something else that was just mind-boggling. At 3-6, this is the best start that Washington's had to the season since 2018. Think about that for a second. We're 3-6 this year, and it's the best start we've had since we were 6-3 in 2018. I mean, we are pathetic, but that's nor here nor there. A win's a win in the National Football League, and no one can rain on our parade today because currently we're the only team in the NFC East to be able to do what we did yesterday, and that's beat the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was not easy. It was a physical football game if you listen to the players after the game. And I want to give a quick shout out to my guy, Fat American, because he talked about this in the MOBB. He was like, I don't know about you guys, but these Buccaneers, they seem to be hitting really hard. They seem to be tackling us really hard. Does anybody else feel this? And nobody responded to him. But I saw his comment. And I just like, yeah, the Buccaneers, they're fast and they're physical. When you fly around the way that they do on defense, you hit hard. And that's what being fast to the football usually does. And, the players said, man, that was the most physical game they've been in, in their careers. I know Antonio Gibson said that. Terry McLaurin said that they were physical. Cornelius Lucas said, man, that was a physical football game. So the players definitely felt it, and they knew they were in a war with a really good football team. That said, we did a lot of things that we needed to do to win. And every week I set out a checklist, and I call it my keys to victory. And I say that, look, if you find a way to hit on 7 or more of these keys, if your grade out of 10 is 7 or more, you're going to win more games than you lose. And so let's get to the keys to victory, see what Washington did, and if they took care of business in those respective departments, and if it holds true. And so we start with the offense. Washington's offense versus Tampa Bay's defense. The first thing was red zone must be the green zone. And I said we can't finish any lower than 50%. But really I wanted it to be up around 67%, which means 2 out of 3. Worst case scenario. But 50% was as low as we could go, and it couldn't have been 1 of 2. I said it had to be at least 2 touchdowns for Washington in the red zone. Couldn't be 1 of 2. You were going to lose because that wouldn't have been enough points unless you're scoring outside of the red zone, which we actually did score 1 of our 3 touchdowns outside of the red zone. But that said, you needed to score in the red zone, and we did that. 2 of 4. Now, that's still not where I wanted to be, but it's an upgrade over what we have been over the last month or so. So I gave us a half of points. So gave us half credit for that one because, again, we can be better than 2 or 4, but it was necessary that we were at least no worse than 50% in this game, and it needed to be at least 2 touchdowns. And so we were able to achieve that. The biggest key in the game, however, was that all 4 of those red zone trips resulted in points. Unlike past weeks where red zone trips came up empty, blocked kicks, missed field goals, failed 4th down conversions, we got points out of every single one of those drives. So 4 possessions in the red zone netted us 20 points on the scoreboard. 2 touchdowns, 2 extra points, and 2 field goals. That's what it has to be. It can't be empty trips. We got to come away with something. We did that in this game, and that's part of the reason we came out victorious. The next key to the game offensively for Washington was protect Taylor in the pocket. I gave us half credit on this. Taylor Heinicke was sacked 5 times in this game. 3 of those sacks, I firmly believe, were on Taylor Heinicke. Felt like he could have gotten out of the pocket a little sooner on 2. And then if you recall, 1 sack, he literally ran all the way to his left, was probably a good 4 yards out of the pocket, and he decided to just fall down amongst like 3 Buccaneer defenders instead of just throwing the ball out of bounds. Like, what are you doing, dude? Don't take a 4-yard sack, throw it out of bounds. You are able to do that. So that was frustrating. That was an unnecessary sack taken. But, the other 2 sacks, they were probably justified sacks on the offensive line. For the most part, I thought the offensive line was spectacular. They really did hold up. And there were times where Taylor had like 5 to 6 seconds to throw the football, where he literally was patting the ball, pat, first, second, third, going through his progressions multiple times. So I thought the offensive line did a pretty good job, but they did allow some sacks. He was sacked 5 times, so only half credit there. But once again, I thought it was a really good day by the offensive line, notwithstanding, and especially in the run game, where I didn't think we would be able to run the football, but we actually ran it effectively. The yards won't tell the story there, yards per carry or any of that, but the fact that we were able to run it when we needed to, I thought the offensive line had a really good day at the office. Next key, Washington's offense needed to have Heinicke Ultra, not Heinicke Light. That was going to be big, and really that's going to be moving forward the remainder of the season. We're going to need Heinicke Ultra. Ultra! 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 We're going to need Heinicke Ultra, not Heinicke Light. We've had Heinicke Light the past month and some change, and we saw how that has affected this team's ability to win football games. We've seen Heinicke Ultra in 3 games. We've won all 3 this season. And honestly, we were heading towards Heinicke Ultra against Green Bay, but the inability to score in the red zone and some missed opportunities by Heinicke limited him to just Heinicke Light. But at the end of the day, Heinicke played one of his best games of the season. It's right up there with the Giants and the Falcons games. I still think the Falcons game was his best game of the season to this point, but this was probably the second best game. The Giants game was outstanding. It was, exhilarating, but there was that bad interception in that game. He had no such interception, even though he tried to throw an interception or 2 in this game. But I felt like this was his second best performance of the season. Made every throw on that last possession when we put it away on the epic 19-play, 80-yard, 10-minute, 26-second drive capped by the 1-yard Antonio Gibson touchdown run to seal the deal. He was fantastic on multiple 3rd downs, including one where he had to use his legs to extend and run for the 1st down. I thought Heinicke was Heinicke Ultra, which we had to have in this football game. I gave us a full check and point for that one. The next key to the game, finish strong in both halves of the game. So right before first half, second quarter, finish strong. I thought we did that. Yeah, we gave up the stupid, personal foul penalty that allowed them to get the field goal, but We got points of our own right before the half, and we actually did a really good job of melting the clock and really leaving Brady with next to no time to operate. And you hate giving it up like we did with the stupid penalty, but we finished the half strong. I'm not going to really kill us for that. It's something that can't happen, but it did. But, most games, that's not going to happen. Just like most games, Hail Marys right before the half aren't going to happen. But that said, you can't finish the game any stronger than we did at the end of the game with the 19-play, 80-yard, 10-minute, 26-second touchdown drive. You can't finish the game. I don't think there's a possible way to finish a game more potently than the way we did, keeping Tom Brady off the field and not giving him a chance to beat us. You can't do it any better. So even if you are disappointed by the way the first half ended, with the William Jackson III penalty and the subsequent field goal that came after it, the touchdown drive at the end of the game to ice it overshadows that and makes up for it. And so to me, it's a full point there. We had to finish both halves. That's been something that's really been killing us this season, is we haven't finished the first half strong and we haven't finished the second half good enough. And that's when it's winning time. And we did both of those things in this game well. And so we got a full check mark and a point for that one as well. And then finally, the last key offensively was protect the Duke. That's going to be one of the things every single week. And I gave us a half point for that because we tried to fumble. Heineke tried to throw a pick. And look, almost doesn't count. As a wise woman once told me, almost doesn't count. Almost doesn't count. So I don't want to belabor those points, but we still had a fumble. We still had a turnover by Dax Milne, and it proved to be costly. And, ultimately it could have come back to haunt us. It didn't, and that's what team is all about, picking up your teammate when things don't go the way that you want them to. Pick your teammate up. You would like the defense to pick him up immediately and not give up a 40-yard touchdown. However, the offense got back on the field, and they had to do it themselves. And they moved it down the field and didn't allow Brady and company to beat us by scoring that touchdown on the final drive. So I gave us a half point for protecting the Duke. We won the turnover battle. We only turned it over once, but it's still a turnover nonetheless. And we need to play cleaner football if we want to continue to win moving forward. So you tally all of that up, it's a 3.5. But the beauty of that is we got credit in every single one of those keys. We got some type of credit, which we haven't done all season long. As we transition over to the defensive side and Washington's defense versus Tampa Bay's offense, the first key to the game, it was the biggest. And I said, if you don't do this, then the rest of these keys are obsolete and insignificant. Get Brady off the spot. We know that Brady is one of the most prolific passers in NFL history. When he's allowed to drop back, get to his spot, stand there, and deliver the football. When he doesn't have to move, when he doesn't have to buy more time, and Brady's pocket mobility is among the greatest in NFL history, so he doesn't have a problem moving, reshuffling his feet, setting, and throwing. However, he doesn't want to do that. His back foot hits the ground. He wants that football to be gone. So I thought it was instrumental, and I said this. We didn't sack Brady one single time in this game. But it's not always about sacks, and we talk about this all the time. A lot of people get caught up in sack numbers and having that be the end-all, be-all. But I've talked about, especially with pocket passers, just hitting them a lot of times is enough to rattle their cage. And I thought the Jonathan Allen hit on Brady on the opening possession of the game on third down, that was an incompletion, set the tone for the day, because after that, Brady, I thought, was skittish in the pocket and his internal clock got sped up. And we also did a good job, I thought, of mixing up coverage, dropping 8 and rushing 3, and then blitzing Brady. And I thought we came with a lot of blitzes, especially in the second half of the game. So I thought we did a really good job of keeping Brady off of his spot. And that was instrumental in the victory. And if you're going to beat your Tom Brady, that is a must. And we got that done in this game. I gave us a full point for that. The next key to the game defensively for Washington was attack the short passing game. This was vital too, because I said Brady has been surgical throughout his career. I think he's one of the best, if not the best. And there have been other quarterbacks like Steve Young, Joe Montana, specifically in that West Coast offense with Bill Walsh, who were absolutely surgical underneath in the short passing game. That West Coast offense, essentially the run game or the short passing game, is an extension of the run game. So you're getting it to your backs out of the backfield. You're hitting, the 5-yard outs. You're hitting the hitches and the stop routes. And so Brady is, to me, one of the best in the business at taking what the defense gives him. If you're not going to give them anything over the top, he has no problems checking it down to the back repeatedly over and over and over again to loosen you up, to make you respect the underneath throw, so then he could take shots down the field. And so I knew that because of the ability to get to Brady and them, respecting our defensive line, if nothing else, whether it's warranted or not, they were going to respect our defensive line. And I thought Jonathan Allen, with that hit, commanded that respect and made Brady say to himself, I got to get rid of this thing quickly. And we knew Fournette was going to be a part of the passing. We knew Giovanni Bernard was going to be a part of the passing game. We knew they were going to throw wide receiver screens to Chris Godwin. We knew they were going to try to get it out of Brady's hands quickly. We had to rally to the football. We had to be sure tacklers. And I wanted to see as many hats flying to the ball as humanly possible. Attack the short passing game. I thought we did this marvelously in this football game. We were magnificent underneath. We tackled well all day. We were physical to these ball carriers. We made sure we flew to the ball. There were multiple hats at every single one of these completions. There were multiple hats at the football. I thought we did a great job attacking the short passing game. Got another check there in a full point. Next key to the game defensively, make the Bucs one-dimensional. I actually thought we did a tremendous job in this department as well. The run game for the Buccaneers was pretty much non-existent. Leonard Fournette, 11 carries, like 4 yards, 47 yards, something like that. Like, we didn't shut him down totally, but it wasn't a good enough rushing day. And us getting out on top kind of put them a little bit behind the 8 ball. But even when they did run it, there weren't any explosive runs. It was a steady diet of 2 here, 3 here. Got us for 7 that time, but back to 1, back to none, then 4. So it wasn't anything dynamic. Nothing that, the Buccaneers, like they did in the playoff game when they played us, when Fournette almost went for 100 on just like 15 carries or so, where he was really, I think it was 17 for 95 in the playoff game. He was extraordinary against us in the playoffs. I thought we shut that faucet off and really hurt them. Even on a third down early in the game when they decided to go for it on the third possession of the game before Brady threw his second interception. They ran it on 3rd and 1, and Leonard Fournette got stuffed for a gain of nothing by Jonathan Allen. So I thought the run game was non-existent. It was taken away, and we forced Brady to have to beat us. And on this particular day, he was incapable of doing that. I gave us a full check and a point for that one as well. The next key to the game defensively for Washington was limit the big plays. I gave us a half point for this because even though the Buccaneers didn't have a smatter of big plays against us, they still had some chunk plays. One in particular really stands out, and that's the Mike Evans 40-yard touchdown grab. Those are the explosive plays you try not to give up, the ones that immediately count for 6. And that one hurt because not only was that a third down and an opportunity to get off the field, but it also cut the lead to just 3 at 16-13. So, cut it to 4 at 23-19. And that was a big play. It was a momentous play because, had the offense not responded the way that they did, this felt like 27-23. You know what I mean? It felt like, okay, if the Buccaneers get it again and we don't score, if we go 3 and out after that touchdown, or we get 1 first down and then we have to punt, it felt like it was going to be 27-23. Buccaneers win this football game. Instead, the offense did what they did, but that big 40-yard touchdown given up by Kendall Fuller was huge at the time. And then we gave up a 26-yarder to Jalen Darden in cover 2. And that one, to me, it's inexcusable. When you're dropping 8 and you're rushing 3, there shouldn't be a guy that wide open in that honey hole in cover 2. Somebody's got to carry that route. Something's got to be done. You can't drop 8 defenders and have a guy that wide open. So I thought that was ridiculous But other than that, I thought we did a pretty good job. Those were the two explosive plays. They really didn't have any other big plays in the ball game. Everything else was nickel and dime city. But we still gave up a couple of big plays. You'd like to eliminate those altogether. And so because of that, I gave us a half of point. And then finally, the last key to the game defensively for Washington. Red zone defense, and this was huge. After Brady being moved off the spot, I thought this was the next biggest thing. You really had to be efficient in the red zone. That's not something we've done all that well of late. Early in the season, we were tremendous in the red zone defensively. The last 3 or 4 weeks, we've really struggled with our red zone defense. It came alive in this game, and it had to because, again, you had to be damn near perfect if you wanted to beat the Buccaneers. They're that much better than us, so we needed to do everything right. And one of the things I said we had to do is we had to find a way to keep them to 50% or less in the red zone. And I said if they go 2 or 4 in the red zone, we're going to have a shot. They can't go 3 of 6. They can't have that many possessions that find the red zone, or we're going to lose. So the fact that they only had 3 possessions that found the red zone, that's big, okay? That's big. That gives you a chance. That gives you a fighting chance. Now, here's the key, though. Of those 3 possessions, you needed to keep, 2 of them out of the end zone, or else that's going to exceed that 50% threshold that I put us at. We kept them to just 1 touchdown. They were 1 of 3 in the red zone. That's the difference in the game, to be honest with you. That's the difference in the ball game. If they go 2 of 3, they're probably going to win this football game. Things don't play out the way that they do in this game if they are able to get into the end zone twice instead of just once. Everything is different. The way we attack it, the way they approach it, everything is different if the score is different. And so just think of it this way. If one more of those field goals is a touchdown, it's a tie game at 23 apiece. Because instead of getting 3, you get 7. Assume the kicker makes the extra point, which we can't because he missed one, but assume he makes the extra point. So you tack on an extra 4 points instead of 3. That gives you 7. It's tied at 23. It's a different ball game is essentially what I'm trying to tell you. So it was paramount. And so I gave us, obviously, a full check and a point there because our red zone defense was absolutely a necessary thing in this game, and they came up big in that department as well. So much like the offense, for the first time this season, there's a check mark or some kind of mark or some points gained by every single key, and that's how you win games against teams that are better than you. You total that up, it's a 4.5. You put the 2 together, it's an 8 out of 10. You're going to win a lot of games if the keys to the game are 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10, anything in that range, from 7 to 10, you got a chance to win every single week with that. And it's no wonder we won the game. When you take care of all of those things that I deem to be important, you're going to give yourself a chance. And that's what we did, and we ultimately came out with the W. So love this, love the outcome. Let's get to in other news. So Ron Rivera was jubilant today, and he should have been. I don't know if you guys saw the locker room speech. It didn't give us a lot. It was only like 42 seconds, but it included Victory Monday, and the players went wild. And for those of you who are unaware of what Victory Monday is, it's essentially the day off, but really it's 2 days off because if you don't get a Victory Monday, you usually got to show up on Monday for treatment. The guys that are nicked up, and guys that are nicked up still need to come in on Monday, even if it's off day for treatment and things. But you're not required to do anything. On a normal Monday, you're required to come in, get treatment, watch film. Some guys get a lift in, things of that nature. It's a regular work day, essentially. You just don't have any activities on the field, but you're still mentally engaged with film and taking notes and looking and seeing what you did wrong, what you did right, and things we can improve upon. Well, when you get a Victory Monday, you don't have to come in for that. If you don't have to come in and get any treatment, then you don't have to come in at all. Tuesday, same deal. You don't have to come in at all. Your first day of work isn't really until Wednesday when you get a Victory Monday. So that was the first time Ron Rivera has given out a Victory Monday since he's become the coach here in Washington. So when you hear him say, I've been waiting to say this for a long time, Victory Monday, and the players go wild, now you know why. I mean, think about it this way. You know, you work your job. Think about having 2 days off and you didn't think you were getting 2 days off. Your boss just comes to you, you know, on Friday, you know, right before you're going home for the weekend, and he says, hey, everyone, listen up. You guys have done an exceptional job the last week. Our numbers are through the roof. Everybody's off Monday and Tuesday. You'd lose your mind, right? You'd be excited. That's a 4-day weekend. You know what I'm saying? You'd be ecstatic. So that's essentially what happened. They got 2 days off additional after the win. So you soak up the win. You're feeling good. And now you find out you don't have to work on Monday or Tuesday. You know, really Wednesday is the first day back at work. So that was a big deal. But at his presser today, he gave us an update on Chase Young. It was what we feared. It was the worst. It was a torn ACL. We knew what it was. Like, you know, I told you guys what it was. You know, someone in the comment section was like, I think it's just an MCL. I'm like, nah, bruh. Like, we've seen this movie too many times. I'm not a doctor, and I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. But what I have done is watch football for 30 years. And I know an ACL or an Achilles when I see it. And so, you know, we knew it was one or the other. And the question now is, and we haven't really gotten any confirmation on this, is was it a clean tear? Was it just this MCL or ACL? Was it an MCL, an LCL, a PCL? Like, are there any other CLs involved? Or is it just a clean tear of the ACL and, you know, you get the surgery and you move forward and you rehab? Either way, obviously he's out for the remainder of this season. And the question is, how fast does he heal? He's a young man. So I'm hoping that he's got those ridiculous regenerative and recuperative powers, because we see these young guys all the time come back faster and faster each and every single year from these ACLs. So ACL is a lot quicker and easier, and I say that I'm not the one having surgery on it and having the long road to recovery, but it's a lot easier to come back from that than it is in Achilles. So we'll see what happens, but it is in fact a torn ACL for Chase Young, and he will be out the remainder of the season, which is what we feared, but we already knew. And so we had already mentally prepared ourselves for the worst. As for Ricky Seals-Jones, we found out that it was a hip injury that he had sustained earlier this season, and he'd been playing through it, gutting it out, and it just finally jumped up and really bit him. It sounds like a hip pointer is what it sounds like, and if you've ever had one of those, it's really painful. It's not as mild as it sounds. Like a hip pointer sounds like it's something soft. No, that shit hurts if you've ever had one. And so he's going to be on the shelf for at least the next 2 to 4 weeks, if you ask me. So, and I think it'll probably split the difference and be more like 3 weeks. So it'd be great if we could get Logan Thomas back this week. But we'll see what happens at the tight end position. So that's an injury update. You know, Ron talked about the win, talked about some guys that stood out, talked about, you know, the win in general and how proud of the players he was. And, you know, I think he feels like this is the beginning of something big this season, you know, and it could even be even larger than that. You know, in Ron's mind, this is such a big win because, as you heard on the victory speech, you know, this was a measuring stick. You know, we had a measuring stick game in week 3 versus Buffalo, and we didn't measure up. You know, we failed that test miserably. And this was another measuring stick game against the Super Bowl defending champions, and this time we answered the bell. And I think Ron might think to himself, he won't say this out loud, nor should he. Not only is this potentially a turning point of this season, but this could be the turning point of his tenure here in Washington, where the light bulb finally goes on, the maturity that he's looking for starts to show itself, and, you know, this team starts to play the kind of football that everybody expected it to play when the season began, not 10 weeks in. So we're going to see. Again, I said this yesterday. This could be a one-off. You know, this could just be us having our one shining moment, and then we go back to playing the kind of football that landed us at a 2-6 record heading into the bye week. So we'll see. You know, it's just one game. We've got to show the consistency that allows you to put together a win streak. We haven't done that this season, so we're going to see if that comes about. And Ron also talked about all of the young guys that are going to see the field now because of the injuries, So, these guys are going to have to step up. And he said, Jack's going to have to find ways to maybe, conjure up some pressure, and thought he did a really good job of doing that in this game, but it's going to be interesting to see what he does moving forward. But he's like, look, a lot of young guys are going to get some opportunities, and we'll see what they do with them. So, again, this is all a part of Ron's plan. Again, not to have these young guys have to all play at once the way that they're going to have to play now because of the injuries on that D-line, but you want to see the young guys have an opportunity. You want to see the depth. You want to see what guys can or can't do it, so you know who can ride and who needs to be dropped off at the bus stop. So I've already talked about that. So Ron sounds confident. He wants to enjoy this, and I told you guys the same thing yesterday. Enjoy this. Bask in it, okay? Don't worry about Carolina yet. Don't worry about can we get hot and make a run. Don't worry about any of that. It's so hard, as you know, as fans of this team, to get wins. We're not spoiled. We're not one of these teams that their teams goes 12-4, 13-3 every year. We don't take these wins lightly because we don't get them very often, okay? When we beat teams, it's usually bottom feeder teams. We don't usually beat one of the best teams in the league. That's 2 years in a row we've done that. Now, again, when we beat Pittsburgh, that was the beginning of the end. We were the beginning of the end. We were the beginning of their demise. But again, they were undefeated when we beat them. So it was a very joyous occasion. This feels like that, but this feels a little bit better because there was a revenge factor here. They put us out of the postseason last year, and you really wanted to get them back. So this felt good, and now you celebrate, and then you start to turn your attention to Carolina. But that's on Wednesday, and Ron made that abundantly clear. Like, let's enjoy this now. Wednesday, we'll start turning our attention to Carolina. The coaching staff can't do that, right? But as fans, enjoy it. So, I lastly want to finish up with the NFC East standings. So, Philadelphia got a big win on the road at Denver, 30-13. That's 2 in a row for the Eagles. No, it's actually 2 out of 3 for the Eagles. They lost to the Chargers last week, but the week before that, they drubbed the Lions. So, the Eagles have a very favorable schedule. They've got some very winnable games coming up. And so they've got the Saints this week, very winnable game. After that, they have the Jets. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Eagles' schedule is very doable. So they could get hot. If they can string together some wins, get consistent, they could easily lose to the Saints. That Saints defense is still good enough to rattle Jalen Hurts' cage. And they could lose that game next week, but they could easily win that game. The one thing that, the Eagles have working against them is they haven't won a home game this season. They're 0-4 at home, okay? All 4 of their wins have come on the road. They're 4-2 on the road, 0-4 at home. And this game against the Saints is at the crib. I don't know if that's, a bad omen, or if they're thinking, look, at some point we got to get a home win, right? Wrong. You don't have to win a damn thing at the crib, So we'll see if the Saints are starving for a victory. They came close against Tennessee, had a terrible call go against them. The Eagles could easily lose that game. I'm not conceding anything to them. Meanwhile, the Giants, they're going to come off the bye, and they're 3-6, and they come off the bye with a win, and they're feeling good about themselves, and they're going to look to try to make it 2 in a row, and we'll see what they ultimately do in their next football game. But Dallas, they bounced back in a major way after the embarrassing loss at home to Denver. Now they got to travel to Kansas City, and so let's take a look at the division real quick. And I know a lot of you have already conceded the division, and rightfully so. And what I'm about to do is an exercise in futility that you shouldn't do this. Don't try this at home, okay? This makes no sense what I'm about to do, but because we won yesterday, I'm reinvigorated. And so all of the nonsense is back. So there we sit in third place, tied with the Giants. We have the tiebreaker over them because we've beaten them already, and we have a better divisional record because the ridiculousness of our schedule, we've only played one division opponent to this point and don't play any others until the final 5 weeks of the season. Anyway, we're 1-0 in the division, so that's why we're in third place. However, if you look at this spread in front of you, I just want you to pay attention to a couple of things. And I'm going to give you why I'm showing you the NFC East and not the wild card cut up. Because I want you to look at our conference record. It's 3-2. Our win percentage in the conference is .600. So if you look all the way to your right, and then you come back to the 4th and 5th rows from the right, you'll see the conference record at 3-2, and you'll see the conference win percentage at .600 for Washington. That .600 win percentage is good for 5th in the NFC right now. When we start getting into tiebreakers, it is imperative that that conference win percentage is as high as you can get it. The first tiebreaker is head-to-head. The second tiebreaker is record against common opponents. And then the third tiebreaker is win percentage in the conference. And right now, we're killing it in that department. The good part about all of our wins, they've all been in the conference. That's why you lose to Denver. You don't want to lose to Denver because Dallas has beaten Denver. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles have beaten Denver, or not Dallas, excuse me. The Philadelphia Eagles have beaten Denver in particular, and that's the one that we care about. And so when we go to common opponents, they're going to have that edge over us. But we just beat Tampa. They lost to Tampa. So you see how this goes. We both beat Atlanta. That's how they're going to measure this at the end of the season if we finish tied. However, the reason I wanted to show you this division, I'm about to do something crazy. I know. And again, don't try this at home. Okay, looking at the schedule, right? The next 3 weeks is pivotal for the NFC East race, okay? Because if Dallas wins 2 out of the next 3, they're gone, and nobody in the division is going to catch them, more likely than not. But if Dallas loses the next 2 out of 3, we've got to win all 3. This isn't a situation where we can afford to drop anything, right? So our next 3 opponents, you know the names, okay? It's at Carolina. It's home on a Monday night for Seattle. And it's at Vegas. Those are the next 3 games, okay? 3 winnable football games. The Vegas Raiders are imploding as we speak. You watched them last night. You know, we're not the Kansas City Chiefs, but they're imploding right in front of our eyes, okay? For the Dallas Cowboys, their next 3 games, their next 3 opponents, at Kansas City, home on Thanksgiving on a short week for the Vegas Raiders. And then they get a 10-day layoff. And then the following Thursday, they play. Or matter of fact, I believe it's a week because it's a Thursday game. So they go Thursday to Thursday. And then they get a 10-day layoff. And then I think we see them for the first time coming off of that 10-day layoff. However, they got the Saints on a Thursday night after Thanksgiving. So at New Orleans, a place that the Cowboys have routinely struggled. On prime time, that is. Now, it's no Drew Brees and it's Trevor Siemian, but that defense is still good enough to cause Dallas problems and potentially upset them. Anyway, I said all of that to say this. If the Saints and the Chiefs can get Dallas, and let's say they take care, and the Cowboys haven't won on Thanksgiving in like 4 years, 4 years, but they're bound to win. I think they're going to beat Vegas this year. And let's say they lose the other 2 games. That would put them at 8-4, right? We win all 3 of our games. Again, that's asking a lot. That would be a 4-game win streak going into that first game against Dallas. But still, for this exercise in futility, let's just make the assumption that that takes place. With 6-6, they're 8-4, and then we're meeting Dallas in FedEx Field, at Washington in FedEx Field, with a chance to cut that deficit to just a game. So while this thing looks like it's over, it doesn't have to be. Now, the way Dallas is playing, I don't see them losing 2 out of their next 3. See them winning at minimum 2 out of their next 3, maybe all 3 of them. But for the sake of this argument, they lose 2 out of 3. They're 8-4. We win all 3. We get to 6-6. Now, all of a sudden, that Week 13 matchup versus Dallas is, for all intents and purposes, a Week 14 matchup versus Dallas. 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, Week 14 matchup versus Dallas in Washington at FedEx. For all intents and purposes, is for a chance for us to get back into the divisional race. And we would see them again, 2 weeks later. So I said all of that to say this. The divisional race is not over. And furthermore, and this is probably the bigger point that I'm trying to make, not because I think we're going to have a chance to win this division. The only way we're getting into the postseason is if we finish in second place in the division. Understand that. I think the NFC South is getting 2 teams in, regardless of what. Whether it's the Bucs are getting in. They're going to win that division when it's all said and done, I believe. You know, unless the Panthers come off the pace somehow, some way. And that would mean they beat us next week, which we don't want. But either way, the Buccaneers are making the playoffs, okay? They're not going to just implode and not win, any more games this season. They're going to win that division. And I think the Panthers or the Saints are going to be one of the other, participants from that division to make the playoffs. So I think the first wild card is going to be spoken for by the NFC West loser. So whether it's Arizona or the Rams that lose that division, doesn't really matter. That's going to be your 5th seed. I think the second wild card is coming out of the NFC South. Whomever doesn't win that division, and I think Carolina or the Saints are going to be your runner-up. So Buccaneers win the division. Whomever doesn't win it and comes in second place, whether it's the Panthers or the Saints, that's going to be your second wild card, your 6th seed. I think the 7th and final seed in the NFC playoffs comes out of our division. And it's the team that finishes in second. I firmly believe that. Now, the NFC South could get 3. And they could take the last 2. But if we have anything to say about it, we got the Panthers this week. The Panthers are 5-5 right now. They think that they got a chance not only to get in the playoffs as a wild card, with Cam Newton back, they feel invigorated. They think they can win their division. We need to put a halt to that. We need the game more than they do. We'll see what happens. The bottom line is, what I'm saying is the Eagles are ahead of us right now by half a game. They haven't had their bye week yet. We need to finish better than the Eagles. Their schedule is very doable. So is ours. But we don't have the Jets on our schedule, okay? We don't have teams like that. We have teams that are capable of beating us, and we're capable of beating them. They're not going to lose to the Jets or the Eagles. So they're going to win 3 or 4 more games, which is why we got to get to 9. The Eagles are going to get to 7 or 8. I don't think the Eagles get to 9. Not if we got anything to say about it. And we still got the Eagles twice. We will have a say-so. And this is why I'm not worried about Philadelphia or, anybody in the division. We have a say-so. If we don't take care of business, we don't deserve to go to the playoffs over the Eagles. If we can't beat the Eagles twice and sweep them, we don't deserve to go. Worst case scenario, you have to split. But somebody's got to get swept. I'm trying to split with Dallas. I'd like to sweep them, but I'm trying to split with Dallas, and I'm looking to sweep both the Giants and the Eagles. Somebody's got to get swept. So if we don't finish in second, we're not making the playoffs anyway. That's why I'm showing you the NFC East. If we don't finish over the Eagles or over the Giants, somebody leapfrogs us and they finish in second, we can't make the playoffs anyway. So it is imperative that we finish as high as we can in this division. That'll give us a chance to make the postseason. Got to finish at second. No worse than second, or you're not making the playoffs. So I just wanted to point that out to you. But that's going to do it for me. Your man Louie T here on Washington Football Nightly. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. Look, yesterday was epic. It was a big win. I'm not going to sit here in front, man. I wanted that one bad. I got emotionally invested. I came into that game like, hey, it is what it is. Whatever happens, I'm cool with it regardless. And then by the, midway through the second quarter, I got emotionally invested. We lost Chase Young, and I'm like, I want this goddamn game. I want it. Let's get this game. So that one felt really, really good. Now, can we do it again? I don't know. And we'll start to talk about that on Wednesday. But as a wise man once told me, celebrate. We got the dub yesterday. And what that really means, more than anything else, is that we're playing meaningful football in November. Okay. I thought meaningful football in November was done. It was done. It was gone, never to come back again this season. What we've done is we've recalibrated this season, and now we have a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. Even if it's, look, there are 87 teams in the NFC conference at 3-6. We're one of about 6. Everybody's got a shot. We're right in the mix now. But these next couple of weeks, these next few weeks really, are going to tell the story. And we said this before the season started, and now it rings more true than ever before. And these next 3 games are really going to go a long way in determining this. We said when the season started, we got to make it so that those final 5 weeks of the season mean something. That we're not just playing out the string. Coming off the bye, it felt like we were going to just be playing out the string in the final 5 weeks against divisional opponents. Now all of a sudden, these next 3 games are going to go a long way in determining if those 5 games are just playing out the string or if those 5 games are going to have playoff implications. This game gave us life. They should have never let us back in the building. Now we got a chance. We could be dangerous. We'll see if we take advantage of this opportunity. But in the meantime, enjoy the win. Savor it. We did something special yesterday. That 19-play, 80-yard drive, 10 minutes, 26 seconds. We hadn't done that since 1991. You know the last time we won anything meaningful around here? You guessed it, 1991. I'm not saying that this has anything to do with that. I'm just saying maybe things are changing. Just maybe. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys, take care. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's